Have you ever noticed how one ordinary moment can suddenly bring someone back into your life? You're walking home. A song starts playing. You catch a familiar scent. Or you pass a place you haven't thought about in years. And in an instant, they're everywhere in your mind again. Not because they came back, but because your brain brought them back. Why does this happen? Why can one small reminder unlock an entire chapter of your life when you thought you'd finally moved on? And why is it so hard to let go of someone who no longer exists in your everyday life? Most of us believe we choose when to remember someone. But memory doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it chooses us. One ordinary afternoon becomes something completely different. A familiar cafe, a song you've heard 100 times, the smell of fresh rain. Suddenly, you're no longer thinking about today. You're standing inside yesterday. It almost feels as if your brain has traveled back in time. And for a few seconds, everything feels real again. If you've ever experienced this, you're not alone. In the next few minutes, we're going to explore why your brain holds on to certain memories, why some people stay with us long after they're gone, and what it really means to move on. Your brain is constantly scanning the world around you. Every sight, every sound, every scent is quietly compared against thousands of memories you've collected throughout your life. Most of the time, nothing happens. Your brain notices the information and simply lets it pass. But sometimes, something matches. A familiar melody, a particular perfume, the sound of rain against a window. And suddenly, your brain doesn't simply remember a person, it rebuilds an entire moment. Not just what happened, but how it felt. The emotions, the atmosphere, the conversations, even the smallest details you thought you'd forgotten. This happens because your memories aren't stored like individual files inside a computer. They're connected, like an enormous web. Every experience, every emotion, every place is linked together through countless associations. When one memory is activated, the others begin waking up too. That's why one ordinary song can bring back an entire relationship. One street can remind you of a version of yourself you haven't thought about in years. And one familiar smell can transport you to a completely different chapter of your life. It feels almost magical, but it's actually one of the most remarkable things your brain does every single day. It isn't trying to make you suffer. It's trying to help you remember what once mattered. But here's where things become even more fascinating. Missing someone doesn't always mean you still want them back. Sometimes you're not grieving the person. You're grieving the version of yourself that existed when they were part of your life. Think about it. Every relationship, every friendship, every chapter of your life changes you. It becomes part of who you are. So when that chapter ends, your brain isn't just trying to remember another person. It's trying to reconnect with a piece of your own identity. That's why certain memories feel so powerful. They're not simply about what happened. They're about who you were while it was happening. A particular song might remind you of the person you used to be. A familiar street might remind you of the dreams you once had. Even the smell of fresh coffee can bring back a version of yourself that no longer exists today. And that's why nostalgia can be so convincing. It quietly edits the past. The difficult moments begin to fade. The beautiful moments become brighter. Your brain isn't trying to lie to you. It's trying to make sense of your story. Sometimes remembering the past feels safer than stepping into the unknown future, because the future is uncertain, but the past is familiar. Your brain would rather hold on to a story it already knows than risk writing a completely new one. But healing doesn't ask you to forget. It asks you to keep moving, even while remembering. The people you've loved, the places you've left behind, the versions of yourself you've outgrown, they will always be a part of your story. But they don't have to be the chapter you're still living in. Every morning, your brain begins writing new memories, new conversations, new places, new people, a new version of you. One day, you'll hear that same song again. You'll walk down that same street. You'll smell that familiar scent. And you'll remember, not with pain, but with gratitude for the person those memories helped you become. Because maybe moving on was never about forgetting. Maybe it was about making space for life to surprise you again. And perhaps that's what your brain has been trying to teach you all along.